Hello and welcome. We are now live on YouTube, on Instagram, waiting for Facebook to join us right now. It's still going around and round and round. Good to see you guys here. Who's that? Okay, La Lore just joined us. Janelle just joined us. Welcome, welcome. We are live on all three platforms. This is our Messages of Magic. And today we're going to talk about a very, very powerful idea, a very powerful subject, a subject that I believe will benefit you tremendously. What is that subject? The subject of faith. More importantly, how to build it, how you can build faith. Many, many years ago, I created a program called Turn Fear into Faith. And the reason why I chose that subject is because I have come to learn and understand that when you're in a fearful state, there's a number of things that could be going on. One of the things that is going on is that you're connecting to an outcome that you don't desire. Because if you're fearful and you're afraid of what's going to happen or not going to happen, or you're afraid about an outcome that you don't want to have happen, that invokes fear. You actually create the fear within you. Fear is not something that just floats around like a virus that you can catch. Fear is something that you choose. Let me repeat that. Fear is something that you choose. Many times I hear people say, thank you. Many times I hear people say that they believe that someone else caused them to feel fear, or a situation caused them to feel something, or their lack of funds caused them to feel something. And they'll say, well, it caused me to feel. It doesn't cause you to feel anything. You choose what you're going to feel. You make decisions on how you're feeling, always, in all ways. All right. You make decisions on how you feel. So I want to invite you, encourage you, push you, pull you, hug you, love you, and get you to focus more on the faith rather than the fear. Now, faith is an emotional muscle. Faith is something that you must work at. And you don't work at it once in a while or for 5 minutes a day. Faith is a muscle that you absolutely want to strengthen. Faith is an emotional muscle that the more you build, the stronger you make it, the better things go. So let's talk about faith. It's like that song, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Oh, we're not going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about faith. Faith, it's such an important faith, an F word, right? A 5-letter word, of course. So let's see. Good evening, says Josephine from the UK. Well, thank you. She says, I love your programs and I'm looking to manifest my dream. Awesome. I love that. Oh, thank you, Kanique. Yeah, I decided to deliver this from I'm actually sitting here at the kitchen counter in my new home. So I love you too, Alicia. It's good to see you here. This is wonderful. Good morning to Annie. I'm happy to see you here. Renata's here. Patricia's here. Shelly's here. Laura's here. All right. This is great. It's always so great. Pamela, Laurette, Beate. So nice to see you guys on all three platforms. Okay. So we decided, that's we, the royal we, that's me and Celine, mostly Celine, because she's pretty darn amazing. And I'm sure you'd agree. Celine is on all three platforms with us right now. And so Celine and I really think the same way. And what do we think about? Well, we think about you, and we think about how can we help you, and how can we serve you, and how can we bring more value to you. So we came up with the idea today that we would do a study session with you. And of course, I'll address any questions that you have as well. We've had a couple already submitted, so we'll get to those first or after we do the study part. And anyone else, she is amazing, Josephine. Thank you for acknowledging that. And then we're going to address any questions that you may have. Well, thank you, Shelly, that you may have as it relates to what we're talking about today, or anything else for that matter. Hi, Marinella. Is that how you say your name? All right, good. So here's what we're studying from today. God Works Through Faith. This book was written by Dr. Robert A. Russell, How God Works Through Faith. So I chose a section that we would study together today. And I'm on page 36. So if you have this book and you want to go along with me or read along, I'm reading from, hey, Anne from Holland. I'm reading from page 36 on God Works Through Faith. Now, I want you to really listen to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some, then I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to share my thoughts on it. And then I'm going to read a little bit more. And we're actually only going to read approximately a page of information. And that's plenty. That's what I read every day. And then I contemplate, then I study, then I discuss, etc. So we're going to read a page together right now. And then we're going to discuss it. Now we're going to discuss it as we're going through it and how it relates to faith. So listen to this. Okay, this is so good. I just love this. Know that you are surrounded by a creative mind that receives the impress of your thought and acts upon it. So let me ask you this. What do you believe the creative mind is that Robert A. Russell is referring to? Good morning, Alyssa. So he said this. He said, know that you are surrounded by a creative mind. What is the creative mind? Well, it's your mind. It's the universal mind. It's the ability to grab a hold of ideas. That's what it is. Then he goes on to say, know that you are in this mind and that this mind is in you. Now, I find that a lot of what Robert A. Russell shares in this book is something that you could just take one sentence, thanks, Laura, one sentence from a book and just really have it expand your consciousness or expand your awareness. Thank you. And so know that you are in this mind and that this mind is in you. Wow, that's a powerful idea, right? So what does that mean? You, and that's kind of like what this book is about. God works through faith. You and the universe are one. There's no separation. All right. That's why success, abundance is not something that's reserved only for a select few. Anyone can have it if they understand the principles. And that's what we're doing right here is we are understanding what these principles are. Oh, thank you so much, Amanda. What a sweet thing to say. She says, I appreciate you so much, Peggy, for all the help you always so generously give us. I love doing this. I love sharing with you guys. Yeah, and Optimal Life Practices says, hi, Peggy, imagine if we could use that creative power collectively. Definitely. And you can use it collectively. You can use it with your family. You can use it with your spouse. You can use it with your children. You can use it with the people on your team. You can use it with complete strangers. We can collectively come together right now and give energy to something that's really positive. Then he says, listen to this, and I really want you to listen in right now. Don't discuss your trouble with others and don't ask for advice. Seek the answer within. Now, I thought that's kind of a funny line since today I'm going to give you some suggestions or answer some questions. But anyways, don't ask. But I think what the point here is, don't talk about your troubles. Now, why would Robert A. Russell say don't talk about your troubles? Because you're giving them energy. Every time you speak about something, every time you feel something, you have just given it more energy. Now, what happens when you give something energy? It grows, it expands. So if you're having troubles, you certainly don't want to be giving those any more energy. Then he says, if the subconscious state of your thought denies what your conscious thought says, it neutralizes the conscious thought. Let me repeat that again. This is so good, isn't it? If the subconscious state of your thought denies what your conscious thought says, it neutralizes the conscious thought. Now, you know what's fascinating about that? It could be a positive thought. It could be a negative thought. It could be a creative thought. It could be a destructive thought. So you have to accept it. You see, you're getting ideas that are coming into your conscious mind all the time. Now, you're choosing whether you're going to accept them or reject them. And even with what's going on in the world, whether a lot of people are getting caught up in fear, are you going to accept that or are you going to reject it? Sure, there's a virus, a pandemic going on right now. Yes, we recognize that. We respect it. We honor the rules and the guidelines, but we don't get involved in the negativity, right? We don't give that any energy. So the subconscious mind will simply deny it. That is why St. Paul told us to pray without ceasing. To pray without ceasing. That is, you must consistently, continually, daily ask for what you want with the expectation that you know that it's already yours, or give thanks for what you want, even more powerful state of being. Give thanks for what you want. You must pray until, oh wait, there was a little bit more there. So that is why St. Paul told us to pray without ceasing. To get results, you must pray until your conscious thought believes and the subconscious thought no longer denies. So let's just stop there. I'm going to carry on and read, but here's an example. All right, here's a great example. Your paradigms, which are your belief systems, are determining your thoughts, they're determining your feelings, they're determining your words, they're determining your habits, they're determining your behaviors, your actions, and of course, your results. They're reflected in your results. Therefore, if you want to create something else, something new, something exciting, more abundance, to be prosperous, to be a multimillionaire, but yet you're not experiencing that now in your life, you must consistently affirm it, affirm it, affirm it until you know it's true. You know it in your heart. Now, you may or may not see the evidence of it in your life yet, but you will. All right. You will see the evidence of it in your life. All right. So you must pray until all doubts are removed. Now, prayer is not getting on your knees and going, oh God, please God, please God. Oh, no, prayer is giving thanks. It's a genuine connection to the universe, just saying, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's what you want to be doing. You want to be praying in a way, a prayer of thanks. Okay. So keep that in mind. Your prayer should be a prayer of thanks. All right. Treatment is a mental and spiritual adjustment. It is conditioning the mind so that the mind no longer refutes the idea of perfection embodied in the treatment. So you affirm and you reaffirm and you reaffirm and you reaffirm. That's why repetition is so important here. It is important to seek God's guidance in every problem, but we must first make sure that we are actually and wholeheartedly putting our problem in God's hands, trusting in the universe. Trust is a very important part of faith, trusting in the knowing that it's already solved. Let us be childlike enough. I think it's important to be childlike. Let us be childlike enough to believe that He will give us a definite and clear-cut answer. So you relax in the knowing. It's solved. It's already done. It doesn't make any difference how difficult or how pressing the problem may be. It will ultimately disappear or be solved. Now, this is really key here. Listen in here. Lean in right now. If you can be calm and collected, if you can be calm and collected in the midst of trouble, you will triumph over it. Now, I don't know a lot of people who are calm and collective in the midst of trouble. Very, very few people are calm and collective in the midst of trouble. And I will admit, I've had challenging situations in my life, and I was anything but calm and collective when it first occurred. But then I realized, because of awareness, that being anxious, being upset, being fearful is not going to solve it. It never solves it. You've got to take some deep breaths in. You got to remember, what would I love? What would I love? You connect to only the outcomes that you desire, get reconnected to those outcomes, and then you're going to get your solution. All right, you're going to get your solution. Now, I'm going to finish reading this and we're going to go to questions because I know there's some questions that have come in. If you can fill your mind with the precious qualities of courage, confidence, and faith, nothing can defeat you. Now, how do you do that? How do you fill your mind? You fill it with your Power Life script. This is how you do it. You fill it with your Power Life script. You write it out. Yeah, that's what Patricia said. I'm using my Power Life script daily. This is what Patricia Jones is saying here on Facebook. She says, I'm using my Power Life script daily and also while I sleep. And I feel different, much more strength in my belief that what I desire is within me. Absolutely. And that's the blessing in the Power Life script. Is even at first, you might not believe it. I started working with a woman who she's in my private mentoring. I started working with her recently. And she, I gave her the guidance on creating her Power Life script. She wrote it because she's a private mentoring client. I reviewed it and she recorded it and now she's listening to it. And she just started and she said to me, well, I'm not really believing it just yet. Well, you probably won't. It's going to take time. It takes time through space, time, repetition of hearing it over and over again. And like Patricia, she's feeling differently. This woman will start to feel differently as well. All right, questions are coming in. This is awesome. Okay, let's finish up this and then we're going to get over to the questions. When the subconscious mind gets a new idea, when the idea takes possession of the conscious mind, it gets you. So it's like you get inspired with ideas, right? So what happens is you'll get an idea, you'll get inspired, you want to do something pretty exciting, pretty amazing, and then your conscious mind starts to come into play and it's saying things like, well, how are you going to do that? You don't have the money for that. or you can never do that. You're not educated. You're not in the right city. You're not the right sex, whatever it is. It's something that comes up that's called a paradigm, negative thinking based on your conditioning. And so you've got to accept the idea, accept it wholeheartedly in your heart, knowing that it's already done. Now, here's what Robert A. Russell goes on to say. He says, but this is such tedious work, you say. It's like Wallace D. Waddell says, this is the hardest work there ever was. And so right in here, Robert A. Russell says, but this is such tedious work, you say. That is right, but so is anything that is worthwhile and lasting. So is anything that is worthwhile and lasting. Mick Peterson's here. Hey, Mick, good to see you here. I love my Power Life script. I listen to it all the time. And Mick has been using his Power Life script for years and years and years. And his life has changed in so many wonderful ways. And he keeps accomplishing extraordinary things. Pamela says, I had my mom record my Power Life script. I love that, Pamela. That's beautiful. Now, I think it's a wonderful thing to do is to get your Power Life script, get it going, get it using it. Is it important to write the Power Life script in the language that I usually use, German, or is it okay to use English as well? I would suggest, thank you, Beate, for asking the question. I would suggest do it in whatever language you most resonate with. So certainly you could do it in German, you could do it in English, whatever you feel most comfortable with, the language that you're going to be able to connect to, emotionally. That's what the language is that you recorded in. Now I'm going to head on over and address the questions. There were a couple questions that were sent in advance, which you can certainly do because we take those questions and Celine saves them for you, and then we get them addressed during our time here together. And so we've got a couple questions here, and then I know there's been more questions that have come in while we've been on our call together. So the first one is from Michelle. Michelle says, I appreciate your work and encouragement and your media team. Me too, I appreciate my team. Where would I go for financial affirmations? Do I demand, decree a current amount wanted or a large amount not knowing how, but getting into the action I can do each day? I want to start more lives. And need to overcome what am I going to talk about? However, I have a well inside me. Okay, so financial affirmations you can find in Power Life Script. We have several of them there. Way to Riches is another program where you're going to find a lot of that as well. We have financial affirmations in there. And I would suggest, yes, choose an amount. Make it an amount that really excites you, maybe scares you a little bit at the same time, and you should definitely not know how you're going to accomplish it. All right? Thanks, Michelle, for asking. Liliana has a question. She says, Dear Peggy, thank you so much for all that you do. And can I have a goal like this? I'm so happy and grateful now that I receive millions of dollars easily, effortlessly, happily, and miraculously. Then I have a lot of things I want to do with the